Hey guys, so new tutorial. Very straightforward on this one. I've had a great number of questions. A lot more players are in level 10 now, and they've been, hey, what are the advantages, disadvantages of ships in tier 10? Now, getting into this, I'm gonna kind of break this down by durability, resilience, armor, speed, steering, scouting, radio, range, and frequencies, damage, penetration, trajectory, all that stuff I'm going to go over in the tier 10 ships for people to have a good idea of what's going on in tier 10. I'm going to leave out the Yamato Final as a gold ship because while it still competes with tier 10, I'm just going to stick to the stuff that you don't have to pay to buy, being, tier 10s. So, you have in tier 10, you have the Super Yamato, the H-41, the Illinois, and the Lion 2. Now, out of those, your best durability is going to be with the Super Yamato at 21,003 hit points. For those of you wondering which one that is, it would be this little critter right here. The Super Yami is this guy right here. The Super Yami comes in with a whopping 2,000 or 21,003 hit points. Now that's significantly higher than the Yamato final in for examples between the tier 9 and the tier 10, despite a few other things. But in the grand scheme of things, it wins the weight battle. It is the highest amount of hit points, but its drawback is it has the worst resilience out of the group. So the Super Yamato's resilience, you can see here, is 4,093, meaning that's its resistance to damage. It's a modifier number. Now, highest hit points, but lowest resilience makes it a kind of easy target to nail. Now, the lowest hit points would be the Illinois, which is the one in the background. It has 19,220, so it is the lightest durable ship in there, but it has the highest, by a significant amount, the highest durability or resistance at 6,247. It's literally 2,200 higher than the Super Yamamoto. Now, in the middle, you have the Lion 2, the British ship, coming in second from the bottom at a durability of 19,814, and it has the second lowest resilience at 5170. Now, the H-41, being the German ship, is a durability of 2,000 or 20,805 and a resilience of 5,601. So, best ship combined out of all of this for durability and resilience is the H-41. It wins the battle for being 300 points lower than the Super Yamato in durability. So instead of 21,000, it's 2,800. But its resilience comes in a very close second at 5,601. Now, it's kind of a trade-off at that point, the jump from 5,601 to 6,247. But in the average run of that tier, the H-41 wins out of all four of those ships. If you were to just go straight, no commanders, slug match, the H-41 would probably come out on top. It would be a very close battle between it and the Super Yamato. Now, the second part of this is the armor, the DSB, the deck, the side, the bulge. Now, DSB, you can see over here in the right-hand corner, is your millimeters of thickness. It's its ability to resist shells from penetrating through the armor. Deck is obviously your top part. Your side is the belt. If you're actually in the Navy, it's called the belt. And then the bulge is your sub-water line and midsection where torpedoes tend to peg you in the face. Well, side face, button chops. Now, so the highest deck armor is brought to you by the H-41. It will be 203 millimeters thick. So the German has the highest deck armor out of the groups, closely followed by the Super Yamato's deck armor of 190. Then you have the Lion 2 at 152, and then the Illinois, though once again low on resistance, is high on, or low on durability, is high on resilience, but the deck armor is 140. Now, a lot of you may ask, why is my deck side bulge not 140? It's because I carry heavy armor to make up for where the Illinois lacks. It's still also one of the faster ships, so the 10% dip doesn't really hurt it too much, but it gains 10% deck and belt armor, which means my numbers stay higher. So competitively speaking, I have now the same armor on my deck as the Lion 2. Now, obviously, if you add the Lion 2, the Lion 2 will go up appropriately, but still the thing is it brings it up to a second place tie with the Lion 2 with the deck armor. Now, next up, you have your side or belt armor. Your best one in the game, not surprising, is the Super Yamamoto. The Super Yamamoto's side armor is 412 millimeters thickness, and the worst, surprisingly, is the H41 at 380. Now, the Line 2 comes in right above the H41 at 381 millimeters, and the American Illinois comes in at 400 millimeters thick. Now, that is a significant amount of side armor because a lot of shells aren't always coming down from the top, they're at an angle. It's only 12 points behind the Super Yamamoto, but still, its resilience is significantly high enough. Last but not least, we have the belt armor. The belt armor, or bulge, excuse me. I see B and I think belt. Bulge is won by the H41. It actually surprisingly beats out the Yamamoto, despite the Yamamoto being able to take a million torps and not care. The H41 comes in at 363. The next one is going to be the American Illinois at 355, and the Japanese Yamamoto right behind the Illinois at 353, the worst being the Lion 2. So, realistically speaking, 2 out of 3 categories go to the H41 for deck and bulge. Now, its side armor is a little lacking. It is the lowest out of the 4, but it is only 32 points behind. You can make up with that with heavy armor, but when you're looking at the top down and the side armor, that's a really strong suit to have the top and the side be, or top and the water line be really durable, especially since you know your torps are coming for you. So once again, the average out being the H41. Next up, we have what's called the steering and speed. Fastest ship, no surprise there, is the Illinois. The slowest, significantly so. The Illinois wins at 33 knots, and the Super Yamamoto comes in at a lofty 26.9. Significantly slower, but it's a big ship. It sits and punches things. That makes sense. The H41 and the Lion 2, a very good middle run at 28.7 for the H41 and 28.99 for the Lion. So the Lion slightly ekes out the H41 speed-wise, but pretty much comparable. The steering, however, is going to go to the Lion 2. It has an 11.41 steering. Now, a lot of you are asking what that is, so let's go pull that line up. The Lion, its steering is degrees is 11.1. That is mean your ability to be nimble. It wins by about 3 points altogether. The lowest being the Yamamoto, no surprise there, at 9.1. Second place goes to the H41 at 9.9, and the Illinois comes in third at 9.7. So really, the Illinois and the H41 are very close. The Line, however, has the advantage at the steering. So realistically speaking, at basically 29 knots and 11% steering, it honestly has a little bit more nimbility than the American class, so it kind of wins that. Now, the scouting is going to be something of an interesting bit. A lot of you look at your stat bar and you see over here you have your scouting range, which is an empirical number that changes depending on what commanders you have on your ship or not. It's a tie between the 3 battleships, like almost in every class. However, at 54.62 for everybody, the lowest scouting range would be to the Lion 2. It only has 53.53. So it actually has about 100 points, 100 meters lower scouting range than all the other ships. Kind of weird how that happened, but, hey. Radio range. The American ship is... So what we're going to do is we're going to take scouting, radio, and sonar frequency as a kind of an average out here for the 3 series. So radio range wins with the Americans being 44.86, a tie in second for the H41 and the Lion 2 at 4,272, and then last place with a very significantly low number is the Japanese Super Yamato at 36.31, meaning its range is only roughly 3.6 meters, which is basically 3.5 squares in game, whereas the American is almost 4.5 squares in the game. That's a significant radio relay difference. Now, your sonar range, the UK wins with 2208. However, a tie in second at 2007 for the American and the German, and dead last will be the Super Yamato at 1807. So, realistically speaking, uh, really bad. The Yamato can't talk and can't listen nearly as far as the other ships, which is a significant issue, which is why it needs to have cruisers around it. The frequency, however, is won by the Americans at 3.26 frequency ping. As you can see on the ship there, mine's a little higher due to my commander, but its frequency is how often it pings a minute. Basically, if you're looking at 3.5, that's about every 20 seconds it pings radar, which is really bad. Subs can hide. Um, but overall, between scouting, radio, and sonar range, the Americans win the cake by tying for first in scouting, advanced in radio, a solid second for sonar range, and a fast frequency retribution. Now, the H-41 has the lowest sonar frequency on the ship at 2.96, and the Yamato and the Lion 2 are both at basically 3.1. So, on the average, the American wins, getting 2 out of the 3 categories in first place and a very close second. Now, moving on to main guns. As you see here where it says main artillery, you're looking at how many guns it has per turret, and how many of those turrets does it have. So first up, you have a tie for first place for the Illinois and the Lions. They both have 9 barrels. I'm just going to use barrels instead of the number system. So there are 9 barrels on the Lion, and there are 9 barrels on the Illinois. The Super Yamamoto obviously having the lowest amount of barrels at 6, and the German coming in with 8. Now, the number of barrels isn't really significant to a lot of it. It's the range, damage, penetration, rate of fire, travel, accuracy, and aiming speed. Now, considering everybody has 9, 9, 8, and then 6, there's an obvious little spread in there. So realistically, your DPS is going to change slightly. Now, running that, your range is won by the H-41, no surprise there, at 6,777, lucky 677 meters, meaning it can go 6.7 squares in the game. The closest to that would be the Super Yamamoto at 6.5, at 6,579, followed by the British Line 2 at 6,421, and shortest one out there you're going to see is the Illinois at 6.2, meaning most everybody can shoot 6.5 squares except for the Illinois. It really only barely cracks 6. Now, damage is a fun game because it's slightly skewed, but when I said you're building this up to a DPS damage per second, you gotta watch the numbers. So the Japanese Super Yamato obviously comes out on top with the best guns being 2,174 damage. The American ship being the least amount of damage at 1,071, and this is per salvo, just one salvo. Per barrel, actually, I should say, per salvo. I can give you guys a little more accurate thing. So 6 barrels do 2,174 each, whereas on the Illinois, 9 barrels were doing 1,071 each. So if you're looking at the math in that, you're looking at 2174 times 6 barrels, you're looking at 13,044 damage, whereas the American is 9 times 1071. You're only looking at 9,639 damage. So a significant damage difference despite a overwhelming 3 turrets larger. Now, if you look at that at DPS, which is what I'm going to get to, I'm going to kind of explain to you why sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's not. Second place is the Lion at 1,406, and third place above the American, you have the H-41 at 1,274. Now, the part of these equations is DPS with PTS, penetration, or PPS, penetration per shot. The penetration now is going to shift drastically to the German ship. The H-41 is going to have 507 millimeters of penetration, which there is very little armor in this game that will stop those rounds. Those rounds, if they get at the right trajectory and angle, you are going to punch through no matter what you do. The worst penetration is the Super Yamamoto at 459. So, what that means is, while at high splash damage, the penetration ability of the Super Yamato has to be top-down spot on. The Second place from the 507 will be the Lion with 474. So right now the Lion has the second best or third best range, first place for guns, second place for damage, and third place for penetration, or second place for penetration. So averaging right now, the Lion is doing a lot better on average than everybody else. Their extremes are pretty high. And the Americans come in just under 461 millimeters of penetration, meaning low damage but decently high penetration. Now, rate of fire. This is the per minute salvos. So if you fire once and wait for a salvo, this is what you're going to get. The best is the American. They are the Gatling gun of the big ship world. They do 2.5 salvos per minute. And the worst will be the Japanese Super Yamato at 1.6, meaning if you solo fire, you're only going to get what is that, 6 barrels. So you're going to get 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. You're going to get 10 shots off with the Super Yamamoto in a minute, roughly. No commanders. This is base numbers, no commanders, no points, no nothing. The second best rate of fire will go to the Germans at 2.41, and then the Line 2 will follow up at 1.86. So not quite 2 salvos from the Line, which is an important drawback to it. So right there, you're looking at, the DPS is actually in the favor of the Germans due to range and penetration versus the American splash damaging constant. Um, the travel of the oh yeah, basically people want to know what I'm talking about. So when it comes to rate of train, you have armor, firing speed, rate of train, precision, aiming time, damage, penetration, blah 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 blah. The number we're looking at is rate of train travel degrees, the arc. The Americans have the best at 16.52. The rate of train, meaning degree, is the best. The Japanese Super Yamato is the worst at 10.9. I don't really want to go into a lot of specifics about that because it hasn't really played a lot of role in it. I mean, it does, but it doesn't at the same time. Meaning you're firing arc. What's the easiest way to explain it? Anyways, um, the Americans are the best, followed by the Brits, and then the Germans at a close second at 13.06 and 13.71. Japanese is worst at 10.09. Now, the next number to equivalent in this whole situation is going to be the accuracy. Surprisingly, the Japanese ship, despite what a lot of people talk about, has the best accuracy at 40.37. The worst is the American ship at 3.3 or 33.59. The British come in third, and the Germans come in second. And your aiming time, meaning your reticle aiming time, the Americans come in first place at 9.81 very quickly. And the Japanese come in last at 14.8. The British come in second at 10.5, and the Germans come in third at 10.69. Now, taking into consideration your DPS, penetration, damage, and range, the H41 ekes out everybody else. And the reason a lot of people get mad about that is because your penetration gives you a higher DPS, meaning your shots are far less likely to have a slow, low number. Like, I can shoot a ship with my Illinois and pop its deck all day long for basically 300 a barrel. I don't get anywhere close to 1,000 unless I get a good arc shot. So what that means is, while my best damage I can do is 1,071 per shot, I average about 3, 5, 6, depending, because of the armor and the whittling ability. Now, the one thing that a lot of people don't understand is the common DPS of penetration and damage with barrels and firing rate. The German has the best one. Yeah, it's the third best damage at 1274 versus the British's 1406, but its penetration and its continuously faster fire rate makes it a much more ruthless ship, especially with that range, to do more damage averagely than the other ships in its class. So really, so far, the H41 is the best ship in the Tier 10 classification. It's just a hell of a ship. Now, your secondary batteries we can go into. However, the tough one on that is it actually goes to the Americans because they really don't have any strength or weaknesses through the whole chart because the secondaries, the range, the damage, and the penetration flirts between H41 and Super Yamato. Um, but then you have the rate of fire, the travel time per second, and then the accuracy go to the British, but their weak point is range damage penetration, meaning it's weak range, weak damage, weak penetration out of all of them, and it's significantly lower than everybody else. However, it's accurate and it's got good travel time, but their aim is not the best. It's tied with the Germans. So realistically, on the average board, the 10-barreled American Illinois has a great secondary battery that has moderate range, good damage, good penetration, and averages out over everything. Whereas the H41 technically wins the game because it has the longest range, second amount of damage, best penetration, and averages out the accuracy, the aim time, and the travel and the rate of fire. So realistically, the American wins, but the German, despite being less barrels, is going to be the more desired secondary. However, against DDs, the American is definitely going to be a lot better, especially with its rate of fire. From there, you have AA, your MGs, and your recon aircraft. The American ship, obviously the winner of the AA battle with 14 versus the 12 of the Yamamoto final. However, when you get to MG, the Yamamoto final absolutely destroys it. Damage, number of guns, and rate of fire. It's just fucking ridiculous. It's 44 little bastards flying around everywhere. Um, and as far as the AA game goes, it's pretty much a good win for the American overall for amount of AA, the damage they put out, and the rate of fire, as well as the accuracy. Um, and then the MG goes to frickin' the Super Yamamoto just by sheer numbers. This is how it is. But that is just a rundown of the ships and the higher tiers by number crunching. And I have all this on a spreadsheet, and that's why I'm able to do this. And seemingly like it's from memory. It's because I have it on another monitor. Um, with those base numbers in mind, when it comes to crewing your battleship, Gunther Lugens, by far the best commander overall. Just his skills, as I've gone over a few times, is just he's beautiful on a ship. He has a decent battle power, and he supports a battleship significantly on everything from speed to steering to damage to armor to durability. He builds everything, and his naval Teton ability is great because you don't need actually gold ammo. It just means he has an upgraded penetration and ammo damage, meaning your one salvo is gonna somebody's day up. A lot of people flip and flop between Willis Lee and Ralph Mueller. If you are running a German ship, the H-41, Willis Lee is huge. If you're running the American, which really suffers from bad penetration, you might actually want to run Ralph Mueller at 5-star simply because he adds 10% penetration, meaning you're going to add, um, let's see, what is penetration? 461. You're going to add 41 or 46 points of penetration, putting you at 500 and something points of penetration on the American ship. You don't need the reload at that point. The significant almost 50-point jump in penetration makes Ralph really good to have on the ship, and he naturally reloads the ship fast with his battle power, and he also increases reload speed by 3% on his own, so you wouldn't really need him there. Uh, Willis Lee, if you're running the H-41, is great for that. With his reload of 10%, you've already got high penetration. He's huge there. There's a bit of a little bit of I don't know what could it be when it comes to people talking about who do you want on your battle boats. Dudley Pound, a lot of people, you know, he gets to 4 stars, he's good. I like him because of naval artillery. It does pop off quite often, and it does help. That 30 seconds of naval artillery for me is about 2 salvos, sometimes 3 if I'm doing it right. Um, the penetration boost and the aiming speed is also useful and coupled with Willis Lee. Now, a lot of people, undeniably, the one that's huge on pretty much all battleships, this is where people vary a little bit. Chiaki was one of the big ones I pushed for, especially his 5-star ability, because he increases the range and accuracy of all weapons by 5%. All weapons, all artillery weapons, so primaries and secondaries get boosted. He also increases maximum speed, a little bit of side bulge, and then if he's your gunner, he's going to increase your damage by 15% for your AA and your MGs. Depending on what you're running into, he could be good to have on the gunner slot. However, I would definitely just leave him in the mechanic slot because he doesn't need to be in the gunner slot if you're running one of the other major ships. You really want him for that range and accuracy boost, the maximum speed boost, and the composure. Now, like I said, Ralph Mueller, you can toss him in. He increases penetration. He reduces the influence of steering on main accuracy by 4, and he has Goddess of Vengeance. Goddess of Vengeance is beautiful. A lot of people don't use it, which is really weird, but you should have it because, goddamn, 75% chance to increase damage of all artillery by 15%. Yes, please. Yes, frickin' please. Some people run Wolf Hoffenstein. Now, this is where are you, Wolfie? You're somewhere in here. I just ran over you, didn't I? Wolf Hoffenstein, there. Now, a lot of people want to run Wolf Hoffenstein to get the 30% chance to increase artillery penetration by one firing, lasts for 30 seconds. Apparently, it's been proccing higher than 30%, but if you want that penetration, fucking run Ralph Mueller, and you get it constantly. And then people assign him to the comm specialist for the conceit proxy. This is his legendary ability, is he increases stability by 3%. You ignore advanced equipment, that's useless. So really people are using him for conceit. Now, there's another commander that has conceit, that's a 4-star, that turns into a 5-star. Where is he? He's the useless one. It's this guy here that no one likes, but he's about Wolf Hoffenstein level. He gets conceit, but he increases accuracy by 3, side bulge by 8, and turn rotation. Honestly, that's better than Wolf Hoffenstein at 5 stars. He also has a higher battle power than Wolf Hoffenstein. If you look at Wolf Hoffenstein's battle power, it's only 176. So all these people using Wolf are really kind of fucking it up because you could run him at 5-star and have a higher battle power, which means that slot's going to do a lot better at 190, and you get accuracy increase. Composure is what he gets. You get him 5-star, bam, you get conceit. So if you want to run conceit, run Inaguchi Toshihara because you get the main artillery accuracy increase. You couple that with Chiaki, that's 8% right there for accuracy increase at all times. Just way better. I don't know why people still use Wolf for that. I think it's stupid. I honestly hate him. And a lot of people want to talk about running cunning. So, okay, so you throw Inaguchi Toshihara on the Steerman slot, and you either run reload or penetration here, and on your comm slot, you run Kimura Kazuo. Why? Everybody loves cunning. It's 50-50 hit or miss for it working on battleships. But at least he increases scouting range by 500 meters. He does do the durability thing, but at 5-star, not only is he a higher battle power once again, he also increases AA gun damage by 10%. So, more scouting, better AA damage, and he has cunning. Better on the comm slot than Wolf Hoffenstein. So, if you want to go that route, there you go. But realistically, depending on your line, that's what you're going to want to do. But, as I said, the best ship for Tier 10 battleships overall in the average battle, you're going to see the H-41 winning the day. This pretty little bugger right here. I'm probably going to end up owning one to prove it to people. It's just I've been doing a lot of other videos lately, so I apologize. Other than that, if you have any questions, you know to hit me up on the channel. Hopefully everything worked out for you guys. Thanks for listening, and hope to hear from you guys soon.